Good morning. Today we move into Exodus chapter 5, where we get our first glimpse at this new Pharaoh, Amenhotep II. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let my people go." That's what we always remember. "That they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." So it's not let my people go, period. It's let my people go that they may have a feast. It's so that they can go do this just a short feast time, and then they were going to return. I mean, God knew what the ultimate plan was going to be, but that was the original request that Pharaoh was denying. Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I shall obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go." I'm having a really hard time not using my Yul Brenner voice. That's because I was just watching Ten Commandments with my kids the other night. So they said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with sword." Then the king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people from their work? Get back to your labor." And Pharaoh said, "Look, the people of the land are many now, and you make them rest from their labor." So the same day Pharaoh commanded the masters of the people, and saying to their officers, "You shall no longer give the people straw to make brick as before. Let them go and gather the straw for themselves, and you shall lay on them the quota of bricks which they made before. You shall not reduce it, for they are idle. Therefore they cry out, saying, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' The more work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it, and let them not regard false words." This is something I don't have written down. Well, maybe I do. What is this over here? No, not what I wished. You could actually go, and I forget the name of the city, but it's in the northern side of Egypt there, and it's near this area of Goshen and whatnot. And you can find inscriptions on the buildings describing the Semite from the land of Canaan people who built these buildings out of mud bricks. And they say what's fascinating with it is that if you look at the bricks in the building, the bottom layers of the bricks are nicely made with clean cut straw and everything. And then you get up to a higher level, and the bricks are made with this kind of like chopped up straw. It's kind of hacked, and it's kind of like not as neatly made. And as you get even further, there's no straw. So it's kind of fun again to watch how archaeology testifies of the Bible. All right, verse 10. And the taskmaster of the people and the officers went out and spoke with the people, saying, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go get straw from where if you can find it. Yet none of your work will be reduced." So the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw. And the taskmasters forced them to hurry, saying, "Fulfill your work, your daily quota, as when there was straw." Also the officers of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, "Why have you not fulfilled the task in making brick both yesterday and today as before?" Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried out to Pharaoh, saying, "Why are you dealing thus with your servants? There is no straw given your servants. They say to us, 'Make brick.' And indeed your servants are beaten, but the fault is not your own people, but the fault is in your own people." But he said, "You are idle, idle. Therefore you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice the Lord.' Therefore go now and work, for no straw shall be given you, yet you shall deliver the quota of bricks." And the officers of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble after it was said, "You shall not reduce any bricks from your daily quota." Then as they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moses and Aaron, who stood there to meet them. And they said to them, "Let the Lord look on you and judge, because you have made us abhorrent in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of the servants, to put a sword in their hand to kill us." So, we're just going to go right to the end. Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Lord, why have you brought trouble on this people? Why have you sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, neither have you delivered your people at all. That's a cheery chapter. So we're going to find, for one, that while these 10 plagues and everything move very quickly, I'll have to look forward and see where once we get to the plagues. But you'll find that the 10 plagues take place like over a year. It's approximately a year, a little shy, I think 9 months time period goes by from the first plague to the 10th plague. It's not a short time period. And so here, we don't know exactly how much time has passed, but a good amount of time probably. It's a fast-paced story. We can read it in just a couple of minutes, but time is going by. And at the beginning of the chapter, the people like the idea of going and worshiping and being set free. But by the end of the chapter, they're complaining, saying they don't want to be set free. That why are you doing this to us? Why are you putting me through all of this? And I think something that's very hard for us is to remember that things take time. And quite often we are trying to work through a process that is going to be slow moving. Talking with some of the guys who are doing the diet competition that's ending this Sunday, it's like if you over the period of a year overeat and gain 50 pounds, well, you're not likely going to lose that 50 pounds in a few weeks. And it's painful having to eat less because, maintenance is what we need, right, to just maintain our weight. And realistically, most of us are probably, if we're eating quasi-healthy, would be very satisfied eating maintenance. But because we eat unhealthy foods, we find ourselves eating in excess and gaining all this weight. And the only way to lose weight is not to eat maintenance, but to eat below maintenance. And even by definition, you're starving your body. The only way to lose a single pound of fat is to starve your body of a pound's worth of energy. And we don't like that. But if we want to get back to that healthy place, we're going to have to bear that season. Children have their behavior formed over long periods of time. Marriages and the health and condition of your marriage can shift and move over a long period of time. It takes time for stuff to happen. And here, the people wanted to be set free. But what happens is we recognize, so the time thing was like a bonus part. It's not really actually what I was kind of going with, but it's important because you see, we recognize now there's a need. There's a need in my marriage. There's a need in my physical health. There's a need with my children and the way my children are behaving. There's a need in my spiritual health that I have just felt distant from God. Two things ought to be expected. One is it's going to take time and faithfulness in order to right and remedy these things. You will not get your weight. That's the easiest one to relate to for a lot of people. You're not going to get your weight back where it belongs overnight. And you're not going to get it back if you're not faithful. But your marriage can't get back where it needs to be overnight. Years of neglect can't be fixed in one date. Your children can get crazier and crazier and crazier until you realize, like, I can't control these kids. And you realize, well, I'm not going to fix this overnight. And so we realize we have to commit to the long haul. And then the second part that I've been kind of building up to, but that's, I think, the bigger thing here in Exodus 5, is you have to assume that the enemy, whom Pharaoh is a type of Satan, he's going to oppose you. Now, unlike physical dieting, which, I mean, I don't know how much Satan's going to oppose you. I mean, every now and then I'm trying to do a diet and people are having ice cream, and all I can think of is get behind me, Satan. But with your marriage, with your children, and with your personal walk with God, not in order, but the three most important things in your life, bar none, the three most important things that you must choose to prioritize in your life is your personal walk with God, now in order, your marriage, and your children. Those little guys' entire temporal, this world, and eternal future really rests upon your upbringing of them. Your marriage is your obligation and your commitment before God to uphold above all other relationships and all other commitments. And your personal walk with God is the only thing that's going to hold you together to get the other two jobs done. And when we notice that there's been a problem, we find yourselves in slavery like the Israelites, well, you need to commit to the long haul. You're going to need to commit to a season of faithfulness if you want to see things start being brought back. Again, a couple date nights isn't going to fix a marriage. Taking the kids and chastising them really good a couple of times is not going to change their behavior. But day to day, day to day, day to day, small, achievable steps in the right direction, and you'll begin to see the weight shift and things start moving the way they ought to. And if you've been feeling a dryness in your own personal devotions, well, stay faithful. Do your daily Bible reading, even if it doesn't feel like you're getting anything out of it. Spend some time in prayer and go find a good book. I find books about prayer are often some of the best. How to Pray by R.A. Torrey, Power Through Prayer or Essentials of Prayer by E.M. Bounds. Those are the kinds of books that kind of get me wanting to pray. And so that's the idea. When you realize you're in slavery, when you realize you're in a place you don't want to be, expect that there's going to be a long haul ahead of you that's going to require faithfulness throughout, and expect opposition. The opposition was the big thing I saw in this chapter, and it kind of became a big all-encompassing thing. But the opposition, expect that Satan's going to oppose you. Expect that as long as you're going the wrong direction, you'll have smooth sailing. But if you try and turn that boat around and go upstream, it's going to be an upstream battle. And so just expect it. But know why you're doing it. Know what you're fighting for and that it's worth it. So there you guys go. Monday, we will hit Exodus chapter 6. Until then, I'll see you guys around. Isaiah 53 this Sunday. Hope to see you guys there.